The Sloshing Machine, a weapon that has held a grip on the Splatoon 3 meta. The weapon saw an increase in usage since the beginning of the game, in which we saw this weapon rise to the top, arguably being the best weapon in the game. A great main weapon paired with a sub and special that maximized the overall kit synergy. But starting with version 1.2, we began to see the Sloshing Machine receive nerf after nerf, with the most recent one in 4.0, potentially killing the weapon once and for all. But is that really the case? Will Sloshing Machine fall and lose its place in the meta? Or will Machine maintain its status or not be used at all? Well, I'm here to explore these questions in this video. Hi everyone, my name is Gus and I'm a competitive player who specializes in the Slosher weapon class. Let's take a deep dive on one of my favorite weapons in the Splatoon series. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more content. Also, let me know your thoughts on this video in the comments. Let me know what you think about Sloshing Machine and the nerfs it's received since the start of the game. With that out of the way, let's get started on the video. Since the start of Splatoon 3, Machine was always in contention of being a top 3 weapon in the game. This is the first time in Splatoon history where the Machine was at its peak. But why? Why did it take 3 games and 6 different kits for Machine to be arguably the best weapon in the game? Honestly, it has to do with its kit and how well that kit helped it challenge the environment that it's currently in. So to get a better understanding of how the meta environment and kit synergy play a role, let's look at Machine in Splatoon 1 and Splatoon 2 since it demonstrates why Machine became the weapon it is today. Starting off with Splatoon 1, I'll be honest with you, Machine was rarely used. A lot of it had to do with the environment it was in. Splatoon 1 meta was really strict in the sense that you pretty much knew what needed to be ran. It was a fast-paced meta where quick respawn and invincibility specials dominated. Now, if you never played Splatoon 1, this might not sound that impressive, but quick respawn worked extremely different compared to now, and the specials from back then were insanely broken. In Splatoon 1, quick respawn activated all the time. No matter if you got a kill or not, quick respawn is always activated. It's not like how it is now in Splatoon 2 and 3, where once you get a kill, you can't get the QR effect, but nevertheless, quick respawn played a big role in how weapons were played in Splatoon 1. And then you have certain invincibility specials such as Kraken and Bubbler, which can protect you from any damage that played a pivotal role in how Splatoon 1 meta was shaped. So why is this information important? Well, because Machine doesn't really synergize well with quick respawn, and none of its kits had invincibility specials. Machine as a main weapon focuses a lot on spacing and staying alive, so quick respawn wouldn't really serve it well. And the 2 kits that it had were pretty lackluster at the time, with the vanilla version having Splat Bomb and Bomb Rush, and the Neo version having Point Sensor and Trizuka. So because Splatoon 1's meta was very strict, there was clearly better choices than Sloshing Machine. You could pick Custom Range Blaster, which was arguably the best weapon in the game at the time. Or if you wanted to stay within the Slosher weapon class, pick the regular Slosher. Machine's place in Splatoon 1 was more of a result of the meta, and it didn't really have the tools to thrive in that environment. This is why understanding the meta is really important to understanding the viability of a weapon in Splatoon. So if Machine didn't fare well in Splatoon 1, it had to do better in Splatoon 2, right? And honestly, yeah, it had its moments under the spotlight. Early Splatoon 2 meta was really interesting to say the least. We saw triple tri-slosher, and yes, you heard me correctly, triple tri-slosher start off the meta. And while that can be a topic for another day, Splatoon 2 was defined by its treatment of 3 certain specials: Teta Missiles, Ink Armor, and more importantly for the purpose of this video, Stingray. Around the 1.0 versions, the meta was still getting itself together after the tri-slosher shenanigans. But around that time, people began to recognize how strong Stingray was. You had a special that could shoot a ray of ink even behind walls from a safe distance. It was absurd, honestly. So guess what weapon had Stingray at the time? Yup, you guessed it, Sloshing Machine. Sloshing Machine had Autobomb and Stingray, and to make matters worse, it was a 170p special. So What did Nintendo do after Sloshing Machine was being used consecutively? Well, Machine received a nerf with it getting a 190p special as opposed to 170p special, and it decreased the ink radius that it covered when it shot the grounds by roughly 20%. As a result, vanilla Sloshing Machine was never touched again, primarily because other Stingray options became available, and the kit synergy between Machine and Ray was pretty unusual. You had a frontline weapon with a backline special, so there obviously had to be better options coming out in future updates. So when Sloshing Machine Neo came out, which came with Point Sensor and Bomb Rush, it must have changed something, right? Nope, wrong. It's just an extra kit, nothing special. It didn't do anything to elevate Machine to the spot it at least had in early Splatoon 2 with the 170p Stingray. Instead, it finally gave Machine players a special that didn't need to be popped in the backline. So that was pretty fun. But then something really important happened for this weapon in Splatoon 2 as we continue to get more updates. And that's the fact that Sloshing Machine received a third kit. In version 4.1, we saw the second Kensa collection drop with it, including the Kensa Sloshing Machine, which came with Fizzy Bomb and Splashdown. This kit finally gave Machine the spotlight it never had, with players such as Kyo pushing the weapon to its limits in championships after championships. Fizzy Bomb, which is the best sub for Machine in my opinion, opened up so many doors for the weapon. It helped it paint, poke, and apply damage from a safe distance. Even though it had Splashdown, which is arguably the worst special in the entire Splatoon series, Fizzy Bomb synergized so well with Machine that it became a high tier weapon. But what would eventually knock it off the spotlight was the nerfs it received soon after and the rise of quad shooter meta. In version 4.4, it received points for special nerfs where it went from 170 to 190. Now honestly, this wasn't too bad because of how bad Splashdown was. It didn't really hurt the weapon. What hurt the weapon more was the 4.5 patch, which increased its ink consumption and decreased the hit radius of the slosh. Now, this didn't hit the nail in the coffin, but it certainly helped in going that direction. What ultimately hurt Machine was the change in the meta and how that meta made Splashdown go from an F tier to a super F tier special. The rise of quad shooter meta was not healthy for non-shooters, so Kensa Machine started to see less use. Splashdown was really easy to counter in high level play, and it didn't help that ink armor was still prevalent. All it takes is one bad sub, or one bad special, to make or break a weapon. So you probably know where I'm going with this. The truth is that because of Splatoon 3's meta, map design, and Machine's kit synergy, it rose to the top. When the Splatoon 3 test fire was announced, everyone was anxious and excited to see their favorite weapon receive a new kit. Kits are really important in this game because, like I said, a sub or a special can make or break the weapon. A main weapon can be strong, but if it doesn't have the support from the sub or special to minimize its weaknesses or open up new possibilities for the main weapon, it could be tricky. So when everyone saw that the Sloshing Machine received the sub weapon of Fizzy Bomb and the special of Booyah Bomb, all hells broke loose. Immediately we saw in various tournaments players using not just one machine, but two, and on some occasions even three. And who can blame them? Machine, a weapon with high damage, a huge hitbox, amazing strafe speed, so when you bring back a sub that it synergized so well in the previous game, and you actually give it a special, things start to change. Booyah Bomb, which at the time was a 200p special for Machine, could create additional area denial, stalling potential, and survivability. This is what rose Machine to the top. But very soon, competitive players began to find other weapons that were arguably better than Machine with the Vanilla Splash. Crab Tank proved to be an overwhelming force since the beginning of the game, hence why the first meta known in Splatoon 3 was dubbed the Crab Tank meta and not the Sloshing Machine meta. But just because the first meta of Splatoon 3 is not dubbed the Machine meta, instead, the Crab Tank meta forced Machine to be a staple in every team composition. Because, think about it. Crab Tank is a special great for maintaining choke points from a safe distance, and it's going to be very difficult to fight against. So it becomes very important for competitive players to identify what weapons were good to coexist and challenge Vanilla Splash, and that's why Machine stayed. It worked well with and against Vanilla Splash. It was the area of effect weapon that people needed to tame Crab Tank. Because Machine maintained the status of being an essential weapon to play, it obviously became very prevalent. So because of that, it can be problematic, because it maintains a chokehold on what weapons are viable in competitive play. So what was Nintendo's solution? Well, alongside several changes to other weapons, buffs, and nerfs, Machine received nerf after nerf, leaving it in the position it is today. Starting with version 1.2, Machine received a slight nerf, with it going from 200p to 210. This slightly reduced Machine's ability to get more Booyah Bombs. It was not significant, and it didn't really deter people from still using double or even triple Machine. But then moving to version 2.1, we did see some notable changes, with Machine receiving 2 nerfs, with it now being a 220 special, and it receiving an ink efficiency nerf. This update made it even more difficult for Machine to get Booyah, and it reduced its maximum sloshes with a full ink tank from 11 to 10. So, did this kill Machine? Not quite, but after this patch, we did stop seeing triple Machine. It was rare, but double Machine still happened, and at least one Machine was always used in high level and top level competitive play. But moving to present day, with the most recent update with version 4.0, are we finally seeing the downfall of the Sloshing Machine? In this version, we saw arguably the biggest nerf to the weapon, in my opinion. In this update, it lengthened the intervals between continuous swing, slowing it down by 5 frames. The reasoning to why Nintendo did this was because Machine proved to fight considerably well on flat terrain, so to make it more difficult to fight, they made it slower. Pretty soon we saw several top level Machine players such as Kill and Madness express their thoughts with the weapon change. Is this the nerf that finally kills the weapon? Will Machine finally be stopped, or will we keep dragging it back because we need it to compete in competitive play? Well, in my opinion, I don't think it's dead. Rather, I think it'll just be used less. Most recently, at the first Splatoon 3 2023 Nintendo qualifier, we still saw Machine used by Madness from the InkTV Majors champion Jackpot. Although we did see him use Slosher a lot more, which is a stark contrast from Madness one-tricking Machine. We also saw Kyo, 7-time NA champion, switch off from Machine, primarily using Slosher. As much as I have loved this weapon, it has held a chokehold on other AoE weapons from thriving, but I don't think this is the end of it. At least as a version 4.0, it's still the best AoE weapon in the game. There's no denying that. What will truly kill this weapon, in my opinion, is dependent on the meta that competitive players discover after 4.0. This update truly feels like a reset, where people are still trying to figure out what is viable given the new weapons that were updated and the new patches that were given. Will we see more Tetras and Wipers which can outpace the Machine? Will Tacticooler finally see the glory it initially thought it would have? Or will Nintendo actually drop one more nerf to ensure Machine's death? As of right now, at worst, I can still see Machine being viable on tower control for particular maps, because its kit is still amazing and the main weapon works well in contesting the tower. Only time will tell. But looking at the history of the Machine's rise and fall across the Splatoon franchise, I don't think this is the last time we will see this weapon. When we do find out the fate of this weapon, I'm confident we will be seeing it, or the lack of it, in the next Splatoon major tournament. Let's see what it has in store for us in the future.